Hello, my name is Rahul Thalla. I'm a sophomore undergraduate student at the University of Michigan studying neuroscience. I would like to introduce Persistent Prescription, AI-driven prescriptions minimizing errors, maximizing patient health. 1,750,000. That's how many people are harmed or killed each year due to medication errors. These mistakes cost the US healthcare system over $21 billion annually. In addition to this, many millions more fail to see benefits from their prescribed medications. Why? Because the prescription process is flawed. The prescription ordering process accounts for the vast majority of these medication errors taking place. One major problem with current drug prescriptions is a lack of data and research for underrepresented populations such as children and minorities. Many studies for testing medications are done using a convenient sample, which does not represent a diverse population. It also isn't a large enough sample size to definitively identify problems. Another major problem is an overall lack of accuracy and efficiency in the prescription process. Healthcare providers usually only see the patient for 15 to 30 minutes and have so many tasks to do during this time. On top of this, they may see 20 patients a day. Consequently, providers simply don't have enough time to learn every detail in the patient's chart and past medical history and account for every single factor. There have been some attempts to address these problems, but they've been inadequate for a few reasons. First, there's UpToDate and First Data Bank. UpToDate and First Data Bank are databases for providers to search through. First Data Bank creates an alert if it thinks the prescription may conflict with a finding in the patient's chart. Both companies provide products that serve as drug recommendation tools. However, both of these tools are trained on literature data, controlled settings that often don't reflect every possibility in patients. Another attempted solution was DrugGPT. DrugGPT is an LLM that's also trained on literature data, and DrugGPT's main fault is that it is even more time-consuming for the provider than not using it at all. The provider has to manually input all the information that they think is necessary into a prompt for the LLM and await a response. Not only is this time-consuming, but it doesn't consider any extra factors that the provider wasn't already aware of. Lastly, there are genomic studies. Some genes are responsible for how your body processes medications. Genomic studies look for changes or variants in these genes that may determine whether medication could be an effective treatment or if there may be side effects. However, these tests take weeks to complete and cost thousands of dollars for the patient, making them an unrealistic option for most. This is where our solution, Precision Prescription, comes in. Precision Prescription is a prescription AI model that works in real time during patient visits for healthcare providers to use to find the right medications for their patients. It works by being directly integrated into EMR systems, thus being able to pull all of the information from the patient's chart. It then uses all of this information to identify problems and recommend medications for the provider to prescribe to the patient. Our first advantage over existing solutions is that we are using real patient data to train our model. We're gaining our initial training, validation, and testing set from Michigan Medicine by obtaining IRB approval to access their de-identified database of the medical history of 5 million patients. The use of real patient data allows us to be more accurate and have a larger sample size to train our model on. In addition to this, our model will also improve over time as it is used in patients' visits and as prescribing medications. We'll record the effects of these medications in patients to further train the model and improve its accuracy, generating hundreds of millions of data points each year. Precision prescription will account for every single factor in a patient's record from drug-to-drug interactions to allergies to the doctor's notes to analyzing X-rays and CT scans. This level of detail will allow us to attain the highest accuracy we can for individual patients. Lastly, Precision Prescription is convenient and easy to use for healthcare providers. It is directly located in their EMR system and only takes one additional click. In addition to this, we will keep track of the uses of our model to collect valuable data for pharmaceutical companies and government agencies. These organizations spend billions on research studies to observe the effects of various medications on different populations. However, these studies are expensive, time-consuming, and lack a large enough sample to be extrapolated to every patient. Our model will find correlations between hundreds of factors and medications and analyze the effects for every underrepresented group and children to better understand the use of medications for these populations. This correlational data can then be used by pharmaceutical companies and other agencies to focus their studies and establish important causal relationships. Here's a demo of our prototype. From the front end, this interface will look different based off of what EMR system provider is using. But no matter the EMR system, the physician enters the patient's chart as they normally would, and then they head to orders. From here, they click New Order, and this is where our model loads in. It quickly analyzes the patient's chart and suggests multiple medications, providing dosage amounts, side effects, and reasoning for each prescription. All the provider has to do is click on a check mark or X mark to approve or deny each medication, and will then be added to the orders for the patient if they approve this. As previously mentioned, we plan on licensing the software to EMR companies. Our price will be based on the size of the system, being approximately $3 per patient or system per year. So for the average medium-sized EMR company with 500,000 patients, this will look like about $1.5 million in revenue per year. We also plan on selling de-identified data to pharmaceutical companies. This data will have no attachment to the patients or their medical history, and purely will be a recording of our model's calculations being done and the correlations it finds. Most data given to these pharmaceutical companies is also unstructured and hard to process. Thus, we plan to clean up the data and sell to pharmaceutical companies at a rate of $500,000 per terabyte of data. Now, we estimate our initial launch cost to be around $250,000. This includes legal fees, API integration into EMR companies, and software development. And we're able to build this model for this price because we're obtaining our initial data for free from Michigan Medicine. We're using the university's Great Lakes computing cluster for the training of the model, and we're renting data storage units from the university for a cheaper price. Now, I would like to address some common concerns that we have had with precision prescription. First, accuracy. Who will be held accountable if the AI makes an error? I'd like to emphasize that this is a clinical decision support tool, and what is providing suggestions for the provider to use, the provider has the final say of what to prescribe. Our AI does not replace the role of the provider. I would also like to address the risks of accessing and storing patient data. The software is licensed out to EMR companies, so the patient's record and medical information never leaves the EMR system. The data that we're collecting is merely the inputs and outputs and calculations of our model. The data that we're storing is not to be matched to any patient and is all de-identified. We also will ensure that all data is stored safely and encrypted to properly protect it from potential malicious attacks. We're currently building our MVP and aim to start our pilot programs in healthcare clinics this upcoming summer. We plan to allow these settings to use for free for 6 months to a year to test and monitor the effectiveness of our product while we improve it. We plan to have our first revenue date in June of 2026 after these pilot programs conclude. AI is a rapidly growing industry, especially AI in healthcare. Many of the largest EMR companies, such as Epic and Cerner, which combined control 60% of the market share, are adopting more third-party AI tools every single day. The AI in the healthcare industry is projected to grow at a rate of 35.8% per year for the next 10 years. And for investors, it is projected that you can expect an ROI of $3.2 generated for every $1 invested within the next 14 months. Precision prescription is beneficial to many people and groups. Patients benefit through better health outcomes. In addition to this, they also save time and money that could be wasted on hospital visits for medications that don't work for them. We also will help healthcare providers with their time and help them make decisions more accurately and efficiently. Hospitals will save money that they would otherwise incur from these medication errors, because insurance companies don't cover the extra visits and procedures that need to be done as a result of the errors, as the hospitals need to eat the cost instead, costing them billions of dollars in damages. EMR companies will then be able to charge hospitals more for having a product because of the money hospitals will be saving. And lastly, pharmaceutical companies will be able to conduct their research and development more efficiently, once again saving time and money. With our product, we can help millions of patients each year. Through precision prescription, we can see over a 50% reduction in medication errors each year, helping millions of people. Patients will be able to get the most out of doctor's visits, getting the best solution for them as fast as possible for as cheap as possible. In addition to this, we can also account for the addiction potential of medications. A large amount of drug abuse cases start with addiction to prescription drugs. Through precision prescription, we can find indications for addiction potential and reduce the drug addiction rates across the US. Our market strategy is to start with pilot programs in small to medium-sized EMR companies while we make further adjustments and improvements to precision prescription. These pilot programs will be roughly 6 months to 1 year long. Then, with the proof of its use in healthcare settings, we will then aim to sell it to a broader market targeting larger and larger EMR companies. We'll start by doing customer discovery with hospitals to verify that this is a product that they will be willing to pay extra for. These statements from hospitals will then help in selling to EMR companies as they will see the immediate demand for the product. Afterwards, once we have multiple years of quality data collected and processed, we can start to sell that data to pharmaceutical companies. I'm Rahul Thalla, co-founder and CEO of Precision Prescription. I have experience working in various types of healthcare settings as a medical assistant, emergency medical technician, emergency room technician, and volunteer, and am familiar myself with Epic's EMR system, the most popularly used EMR system in the US. I also have experience with machine learning, having worked with a team to create a neural network model that used the electrical signals recorded from electrodes in a rhesus monkey to map its brain signals to velocity and acceleration vectors on its hand with high enough accuracy to create a 3D model in Blender that accurately portrayed the monkey's actual hand movements, using predictions based solely on electrode readings. My co-founder Grace Lee will serve as Chief Technology Officer and will head the development of the model. She has experience with full-stack development, comprehensive knowledge about pharmacology, and experience in clinical settings through shadowing. She is familiar with the industry and how prescription drug errors occur and affect patients. We're both capable of building this product and running this business from our various experiences in the industry. With Precision Prescription, we will make the prescription process significantly more accurate and efficient and revolutionize the pharmaceutical industry. Thank you.